Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mr. P, and I want to welcome you to your favorite show, and that is Men. Now, we're here at the Pearl of Africa Hotel, and we are talking about boys and their performance, especially in school. Now, we have heard more than once that it takes a village to raise a child. Is that a fact? Well, we've got the team here to discuss that. And today, we are lucky to have our professor in the making, Banji. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, P.
Now, you've heard before, it takes a village to raise a child.
Yeah.
So now that the performance of boys is going down and the girls are coming up, who is to blame? I want you to think about it, let it marinate, and then you'll come up with it. But Chris, in your opinion,
well,
where is the problem?
I think that we can attack this from different angles. And I particularly think that much as this is not what the naked eye would see, I think that boys' performance in school is directly correlated with the presence of fathers in their lives. And I think that increasingly we're seeing fathers being absent in the lives of their sons. Strange thing happened to me when my son was much younger. I was about 4 years old. And so he was in school, and I was traveling quite a bit at the time. And so we had this teacher-parent conference, and you know, the class teacher meets me and asks me, have you been away from home? I said, yeah, I've been traveling. What's the problem? He says, did it start 2 weeks ago? I said, yeah, I've been away for 2 weeks. I says, from 2 weeks ago, your son has been behaving badly in school, in the classroom. And this was a kid who's 4 years old. Now, I wish that was an isolated case. But I too behaved very badly when I was younger for literally the same reasons. Because, you know, the kind of family situation we had, sometimes my dad would be around, sometimes he wouldn't. And there is a way in which when boys don't feel the father love and presence, they just behave badly to catch the attention of the male figure in their lives. Right? Now that could be one of the angles, and it's not one that is very obvious, but it's there. And so out of that comes rebellion against teachers, against authority, because if you say sit down, be quiet, they're like, no, I won't. Do your homework, they're like, I'm going to do exactly the opposite of what you're saying. Because there's kind of like a fight from within. That's one of the angles I think that one would consider in what's going on in society. But the other thing is this. It's that I think there is just, if you're going to Kampala schools, there's just too much going on with boys. Like, I mean, you have so many distractions. And in any, I think most of us would agree that boys and girls, the girls in that age group, P7, S4 mature a lot faster. The boys catch up usually by university, but the girls mature later. Yeah, the girls mature faster, get things quicker. Their brains are more developed than the boys. So I'm not shocked that the girls are performing better, because, you know, the science will tell you that girls should be doing better within that age group. The third thing is, I think boys just have too many distractions in terms of, you know, these days there are phones, there are tabs, there are chivandas in every corner. You know, it's very easy these days to watch a movie. By the way, any type of movie. I'm talking about no limitations, from R-rated to whatever, and even translated. Right? So there's so many distractions. Back in the day, I had to go to Watoto Central now. It was Norman Cinema. I'd go through guys' legs to go watch, you know, Fluka movie. These days, there's too many vibandas, and how much do you need? a K? 2K? So there's so much that distracts boys, and we are more prone to, male is more prone to going down rabbit holes. I mean, we just want adventure, like, yay.
I don't know if I really want you to set Colin's mind off in that direction.
No. I sort of, you know, I want to get in here now, into this rabbit hole.
Yeah, there you go. Follow.
down the hall.
Yeah.
But I want to dispute a couple of things you're saying. One, so if you look at the statistical representation, when you draw a graph across, you know, so there is about 258,000 children in pre-primary or daycare. There's 8.4 million children in primary schools. And there's another 250,000 in secondary, tertiary institutions, which finally drops to about 40,000 when you get into universities. That's just the demographic split. So those are the numbers. The gender split is, you know, 50-50, generally across the group. However, we know that a lot of girls drop out as they approach secondary school.
Menstruation.
Yes, but that's a function of poverty and how our societal structure and safety nets are set up. But those numbers also decrease further as you go into higher institutions of learning, even though with affirmative action that's sort of trying to balance that out. So I don't think that boys are more prone to being distracted. I do think, however, that our society sort of places for a long time, society expected boys to go to school. But all the affirmative action and all the work that has been done, which by the way is commendable, has sort of put the focus on the girl child and why girls must remain in school, and incentives and programs and activities to keep girls in school. Along the way, as a society, because we were all rallying towards this one goal, someone forgot the boy child. I think that that's what happened. That consciously, as a society, we said, the boy will take care of himself. And what we're reaping now, because understand, for a boy to perform badly in P7, it started in P1. It's a decade. Yes.
Not necessarily.
No, because if a child can read and write in P1, or if they achieve the minimum basic literacy skills, they will generally try and keep up.
I'll tell you what. Where I beg to differ, and I think, Banji, you should shed some light here, is you see...
Is he a P7 child?
I hope not.
He's an educator in this nation, one of the
and
biggest
also a behavioral scientist.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. So I gather he has some idea.
I thought you were referencing the fact that he could be, you know...
Colin, I'm the one who does those border things. Not you. You've learned from the best.
It's by osmosis now. Proximity.
No, you see, the thing is, where I actually part ways with Colin, he does have a strong point that the boy child has been neglected in quotes, and it ties very closely with what Chris is saying, because they've been neglected also by their fathers. However, is it right to say that a child who is bright, for example, in P1, P2 up to P3, cannot fail? They can. If they get their heads in the wrong place, they are bound to fail. I don't know what you think.
I think Colin today was raising a very fundamental point. And these two gentlemen have started from below the carpet, under the carpet, you know.
That's where the dust is.
When you want your house clean, you don't sweep on top, you sweep under the carpet. And I think that's what they are doing. Colin has raised a fundamental issue. You know, over the years, during our times when we were going to university, ladies were given 1.5 points to add on what they had naturally scored. Yeah. So you probably I entered class, and my class of about 63 people were about maybe 9 or 11 men. The rest were women. So in so doing, because you even look at parents, when the children are going back to school, the shopping list for the girl is a little bit longer than the one for the boy, isn't it? The list is a little bit long. Even the pocket money, after giving each one maybe 200, then they throw the girl another 50K. Yeah. You see, so and I think that's where Colin's point is coming in. But we can also not say that the performance for the boy is really declining. And I don't want to confuse our viewers in absolute terms, in terms of numbers. Actually, performance is increasing. The difference is that now we are having more and more numbers sitting exams. So when more and more numbers sit exams, in terms of percentage and in terms of numbers, we see that more and more boys are failing.
Yeah.
And he talked of something about, you mentioned that can someone who has been passing in P1, P2, P3, and finally failed P7. And I think therein lies the problem for us educators. Our education system is a one-point assessment, P7. That's where we are assessing. If you ask this gentleman here, Chris, he might tell you maybe in P7 he was, P6 was around maybe 20 out of 100 students. But in P7, because he knew that now this is the final, he put in effort.
Step up.
Yeah.
So you are most likely going to find that you have a son. He's performing very well, P1, P2, P3, P4, P5, P6, and then when he reaches P7, the weight of expectation comes to his shoulders because you are telling him to be a man. Be a man. Be a man. Don't ashame me. Don't ashame me. Be a man. So you find that the weight of expectations, we have seen it over and over, where someone was performing very well, but in the final exam, they don't perform really that much.
I wanted to sort of come from there and talk about, if you're talking about expectations, go back to this conversation on the are children who are being raised in single parent households less balanced? Therefore, do they deserve less opportunities in our society because we know that they're going to be poorer academically? No. I think it's possible for single mother-led households to raise balanced children. So there might be science to support this assertion. But in such a patriarchal society like Uganda, the absence of fathers is not necessarily correlated with the absence of father figures.
Yeah.
And therefore, I think that Chris has to work harder to prove that children who are being raised in homes without fathers are acting out and therefore being less successful.
I have a lot to say on that matter.
Just before you do, we do have to go into a break. It's a Colin thing. It's a Colin thing. Yes, we're coming back. But Chris, I usually don't side with Colin. Academics.
Every show.
No, academics and a father figure, because you see, I might have a father figure, but not a father. Food for thought. Now, we're here at the Pearl of Africa Hotel talking about the declining performance of boys in school. Is your child one of those boys whose performance has declined? Well, you need to stay with us as soon as we get back from the break, because we'll be serving you something hot. Welcome back from the break. In case you've just joined us, we are here at the Pearl of Africa Hotel and we are talking about the declining performance of boys in school. Now, this is your show. We want to hear from you. Our hashtag is NTV MEN. Let's engage in the discussions there. You can also go to our Facebook page, like it, and engage in the discussions that are going on there. So, Chris, the burden of proof is on you.
Yeah, and I'm happy to grab it. You find that 8 out of every 10 guys have got daddy issues, right? Either a totally absentee father or one who's present and is acting absent. Okay, so let's
and abusive.
Yeah, or present and abusive. So let's talk about what a child misses when there's no father in the house. When you're raised by a single mom, as I was from when I was 10, your ability, my brother and I, our ability to negotiate our way out is just heightened. There is a reason for everything, and say, Mom, Mom, you see, so you're always having your way. And yet when you are in, Peter, you keep on telling us this on the show, your father was nuts and bolts, man.
Yeah.
He's like, dude, style up or get out of my house. You're either going to read on, so there's something that a father does to a child to just realign them to the reality of life, to the ethos of hard work, to the ethos of determination, pushing through, burning the midnight candle, and that kind of thing. You cannot underestimate what a father does to a child, right? The second thing that I want us to think about is this. When you are growing up with both your parents, because I've had both experiences, there's something you want to do to please your mom, which is different from what you want to do to please your dad.
Yeah.
There's kind of different ways you appeal to them. Your dad doesn't get excited because you mopped the floor.
Yeah.
Right? Your dad is always keen. Bring your report. How did you perform? Ah, my boy. You know, he takes you around with his friends. Says, have you seen how my boy has done? You know, so just your dad being proud of you. That is huge motivation. You want to hear a guy tell you. Huh? And these are things we don't need to do huge, big data studies. We know these things. We are men. We know that stuff appeals to us.
Let me rescue Chris here.
Yeah.
Because I am about to bury him.
No.
You save the man of God. It's a funeral up in this house.
No way.
Now, I think Chris has a point. And there are several ways for us to look at it here. There is having a dad, your dad, biological dad. He's in the house, but he's not bothered about your education. Yeah. So he's absent anyway. So there's no dad in as far as your education is there. Then there's a dad, the one of Kampala, but he's too busy trying to make ends meet. Yeah. So he's not there in your education. He will just ask, have you done your homework? Have you done this? Yeah. And he stops there. Then there is the upcountry dad, because they have said UPE or USE. He's like, okay, as long as the son goes to school and comes back in uniform or not in uniform,
he's okay with that, yeah.
The son is studying. So the whole issue is that parents have a very, very high influence on the performance of their children, and particularly the boy child.
Sorry to cut in there, but isn't that just an excuse?
No, listen to the professor. He's saying, particularly the boy child. Carry on. Let him finish.
Yeah, because if you look at like maybe O level, primary might be a little bit different, but let us look at O level, where the boy is growing into a man.
Yeah.
And when he's growing into a man, some of the instructions from the mom do not hold water really.
Yeah, he can contest.
He needs a higher power to kind of suppress him, step on his male instinct and bring it down and keep him focused. So you are going to get a little bit of a big problem. But Colin, before you come in, the other issue now, which has, and it relates to the distractions that Chris said, is that one of the other reasons why this male child could probably be performing poorly is that our system, our education system, we don't identify talent. So the boy might be a footballer. So when it comes to chalkboard, he wants you to draw that the ball has to go here, not 1+1.
Yes.
So we are lacking in talent, and we have seen it especially at higher level, where a child comes to say university, the dad says study medicine. He's like, okay, I've studied medicine. After, he goes and becomes a DJ, a radio DJ.
I.e. Dr. Mitch.
So,
no, but he's a doctor.
We are dropping names on national TV.
But and he will tell you, and he's made a killing. He's making lots of money because he's following his heart. He's got his doctor vet, but he's making lots of money.
I sort of want to come in here where Banji is talking about, and okay. Before I answer that, I want to go back to something Chris said. Chris talked about the things that miss in a family when a father is absent. I sort of want to come back at that on the things that a father brings into a son's life. You know, and how that relates to education. So that thing was talking about when the father says, I am proud, that's validation. That's important. But fathers also heighten the sense of competition.
Yes.
And competition is important. Competition brings it's tied with,
stretches you.
Yes, but it's also tied to things like aggressiveness, you know, perseverance, trying harder. Those small things are heightened in the presence of an alpha male, and that's what a father figure does. They sort of create the alpha male sense, and so which other males, so the boy's ego sort of aspires and seeks to conform in this shadow. And I think that that's important. But thirdly, I think that there's the essence of authority. And I think that authority is very important in raising, you know, young boys to study. Because as Banji is saying, if you're in the village, you know that they arrest you if you don't send your children to UPE. it doesn't matter how bad the UPE system is, because that's a whole different show on itself.
Yeah.
And I think that for that one, I shall have to bring the minister. But
And then be quiet.
After that.
I feel that pain. Like, in my mind, I've forecasted how that show will look like. But so if he says go to school, he's not speaking from a point of authority. And I think we all know that whenever people who didn't go to school are saying to you, go to school, it takes a special kind of love for you to listen to them, because you think, what do you know?
But maybe that's why they are pushing you to go to school.
But there's a sense of moral authority. Where are you coming from to instruct me? Whereas an uncle may not have that authority. For example, a father will say, go to school. I didn't go to school, but I want you to go to school. And you believe him because he has authority over you. And that's, I mean, Chris will say it's what the Bible says. Banji will say it's the family dynamic. I just think, it's the way the alpha works. We sort of respond to the authority figures in our lives.
Okay, just before you
Colin, you saved your neck. Because you were saying, if your dad has not gone to school. Some of us, our dads can't even read.
Yes.
But it was very simple. You have to go to school to eat. It's as simple as that.
Yeah,
the day you don't go to school, you spend the school time in the garden.
So imagine that. That's just child labor.
We put this on our Facebook page, and here I'll just read out 3 comments. Now there's somebody called John Mark who said the reason why the performance of boys has gone down is because they think that they can make it in life even without getting their grades. In other words, school is no longer important. There's a gentleman called Edmund Muyomba who says he owes it to radical feminists who are pushing the girl child. Then Nadia Kiseka says the problem is girls. Now, from what I'm picking from this, and thank you very much, you guys, for your feedback. There's a lot of truth in
what the girls did. All the girls did is go to school.
Me, I want to pick,
but you see,
first.
Okay, yeah.
I want to pick on the first, where the one who said that they can make it without
John Mark.
Yes.
And I think John Mark has a point. I want to build on it. The honorable for Chadondo, I think East, Bobby Wine, His Excellency,
yes,
was probably my classmate at campus. He was doing a different course, I was doing a different course.
Yeah.
But the man was beginning his career and would laugh. But now the man has made it.
Has flourished.
I actually would kill to watch his show.
Yeah.
Because now I have to dig deep into my pockets. Now, so the whole point is, those days you would look around, the one who is making it is either a district commissioner, a teacher, a police officer who knows how to read and write, so he can read for you the citation.
Yeah.
But now everyone is making it, whether they know how to read or write. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So because of that, it is made us, and it is the way we market schooling, education. For us, we think that go to school and then you'll have a brighter future. The school should be for someone to go and acquire knowledge, which knowledge then they can use whatever way they use. That's why you see focus should be more on basic education, which is primary, and then lower secondary education. So that someone can read, someone can write, someone can communicate, and if they want to operate a salon, then they can add, they can know that I need this and this and this. Because now a degree again is becoming a problem, especially at higher level. You have that degree, but there's no job.
There's no work. Yeah.
Okay.
Guys, can I let you in on an experience I've had for maybe 2-3 years now? I've been one of the facilitators in one of the international schools, going there every 2 weeks to talk to the boys in the school. It started out as a desire to do etiquette, and then it actually unearthed real issues that boys have. The same things we are saying. Dads, making money but not being present, etc, etc, etc. But then some interesting things I've discovered is when you ask the boys what they want to talk about. They want to talk about their future. They want to talk about how to make money. They definitely want to talk about girls and sex and things like that.
And everyone who's throwing up. So girls actually are a distraction.
Yeah, they are. So
I'm sorry.
So
And
yeah.
you, of all people, know better than anybody else. Okay, we'll get back.
So let me
Careful, my friend.
So most of them are talking to you about how to navigate the girls thing.
Yeah.
Does she love me? How if I love her back? I mean, that's the bulk of boys that age. That's the bulk of questions they ask about sex. They're intrigued by this kind of thing. Okay, so that's a distraction for real. But then the second thing is that they are not living in the now. They don't see themselves as young boys. They see themselves as adults very soon. They see themselves as wanting to make money. So they want to make a connection between the stuff I'm studying now and being a big lawyer in town, making a huge killing, having a big farm, owning a jet.
But
so let me finish. So I found that in those sessions, you have their attention if you're talking about how they can make that beeline to a future that is practical and makes sense.
But Chris, isn't that
Right?
skewed towards the affluent?
No. Let me come. Don't worry. I'm going.
He goes to international schools. How would you know how the poor children
Wait.
aspire
It's
to?
okay.
Because you're talking about jets
It's okay.
and stuff
No,
like that.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
So let me finish.
You tell us about
So
the
then I also worked in a space where we were doing national programs, and it was deeply rural. I've been in the sanitation space for 10 years and all that. And so you do a study, and one of the things we did is you go to a primary school, deep rural, anywhere in Uganda, and said to them, if you had $1 million, rather 1 million shillings, not dollars, 1 million shillings, what would you do with it? And you would be surprised at the things these kids would ask for. Very practical things. They say, I would buy a goat or a number of goats so that we can be able to rear them and grow. So they're thinking business. They would build a house for their mom. Of course, they think 1 million shillings can do so much. But the way that these young people are thinking, especially the boys, is like adults. They're thinking about a reality that you would not think that they're thinking about.
Okay.
So one of the things that I want to put on this table right now is we are underestimating the thinking capacity of the kids in P7 and S4. We think that they are as backward or as small thinking as we were when we were growing up because we were not exposed to all this information.
Yeah.
These days, kids know much more than we did back
But
then.
isn't that where the problem is? They're having an information overload.
But that's their reality.
Wait. So to sort of support what Peter is saying,
Support this question?
yes, it's sort of the question of the information overload, and that together with shifting goals for careers. So we always thought when we were growing up, everyone you wanted to become a district commissioner, a teacher, work for government, become a doctor, engineer. But for a lot of these young people, what are they seeing? They are seeing their cousins who came to town with half an education, took a border, rode it for 5 years, and then built their own house, or 10 years or whatever. So the role modeling has changed. And because it has changed, even the goals and aspirations for these young men have changed. And so it is important to make money, but it is no longer as important
To get an education in order to make money.
to make money. So you see, we always wanted to go to
This
school.
goes back
but
to what that
yes,
guy was saying.
yeah,
John who? John
Absolutely.
King.
yes.
Now, we do have to get into a
man.
break, and as soon as we get back, I'll start with you, Colin, promise, but I want you to think about something. Day schools versus boarding schools for boys.
What is this? This is like a
Which is
primary
better?
school debate.
We're talking
We are
about
here
school.
at the Pearl of Africa Hotel. Let's do the outro.
We're here at the Pearl of Africa Hotel talking about the declining performance of boys in school. We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back from the break. In case you just joined us, we're here at the Pearl of Africa Hotel and we are talking about the declining performance of boys in school. Now, we want to hear from you. Go to our Facebook page. We had already started talking about this. The discussion is still going on, or you can follow us as individuals on Twitter. I hope you're on Twitter now.
Yes.
Well done. And Banji's also on Twitter, so you've got no excuse not to be on Twitter. No! Guys, boarding school versus day school. When you're in your day school, and that's why, again, this thing of parenting, maybe we're flogging parents unnecessarily. Are we then saying that if you're in a day school, you are bound to perform better than if you were in a boarding school?
So and we've said this before, we have to stop this cram work parenting. So, you know, boarding schools are actually for poor parents. The parents who have money spend time with their children. Boarding school, so the aggregate total.
High five.
People who have money spend time with their children.
But how do they make that money? The two things that a man cannot have in his life is time and money.
But you can have children.
Peter, that's from a broke mind.
No. I want to sort of explain it. You
Yes,
people,
explain.
people who put their children in boarding school calculate like this. I don't have time to drive my child to school. I don't have time to feed them every day. So I'm going to outsource this whole responsibility, give someone 500, 800,000 shillings a term so they can feed my child, they can teach them. Because also in your small limited mind, your child needs an education. More than they need values and principles, they need an education such that they can be successful in life.
Question, and I need to ask you.
I think before we go off that,
No,
there's-
we're not going off there.
He's a boarding
No,
master.
and I'll tell you what I need to understand. Colin, I'll tell you what. Do you know the hecticness? I did it for 7 years, okay?
Of picking and dropping.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, they
And do you know
should be
that
proud.
not everybody has that opportunity? There are so many parents out there who are not doing it. I guarantee you 90% of the parents who take their children to boarding school don't do so because they want to,
They're doing
but
it-
because they have to.
Yes, so but yeah, that you're saying exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying the resource constraint on time and money forces parents to do the most economical thing, which is to say
Not logical.
no, economics. This is not, I promise you, boarding schools are not about logic. They're about, and so think about it. If your child spent more time with you, what do? They spend more time with you. They imbibe your character.
Yes.
They imbibe your values. They take from you your life views on what they hear on radio. They learn from you. So even at 13, a child who has been in boarding school, people out there will say to you, oh, they're more resourceful, but
Yes,
they also
they
have
grew
more
up.
rotten manners.
You have made my job easy.
No, I'm just saying.
But don't you think boarding school helps kids grow up?
So what are we doing?
Because you become
So Peter,
independent.
you grew up.
No,
Yeah, when I went to boarding school, I did grow up.
Peter, I think today, Colin, after this show, maybe we will talk. I buy you a beer. I have always had an argument together with my colleagues in the Department of Social Work at Champogo University. We have had an argument that it is too bad to have many boarding schools at whatever level. It's bad. It's a bad practice. We are outsourcing, as Colin is saying, parenting to the teachers. To they call them what? Matrons?
Matrons, yes.
And whatever the men are called.
And housemaster.
Yes, a housemaster is looking after 50 kids, 50 young children, adolescents. Where is the parent? Okay, now, and Colin has brought a very important point, but I want to twist it a little bit. The rich people, those who have money, take and drop and pick their children from school.
Because they can
They're
afford
very
drivers.
poor. They're very poor.
Do the same.
They do the same. Okay?
Yes.
They make a decision and say, I stay in Kamocha, there is a KCCA school, I will
That's the
drop
only
my,
way.
my child and I will bring them. And at the end of it, they rub personal values on these children. Personal values. There is no one who will teach your child as much as you.
Yes.
If you can't teach your child, then why did you bring that child in this world?
You could. And can I also say that even when you think about boarding school, because lucky for us, you're not the only one, Peter, who went to boarding school.
So,
Let me finish
okay, yeah.
before you say that it's time for us to wrap up.
No,
Because I know that's what
It's
you're
so-
going to do.
it's so nasty.
But
Trust
Peter,
a
Peter,
dirty
Peter, here's
man.
the thing. While I was in boarding school, I noticed that there is a huge difference between fathers who cared about what's going on with their kids' education and those of us who either didn't have fathers present or fathers who didn't care. I can give you, I don't have the permission of these two guys, But there were two guys in my class. I was in King's College Bodo for my O-level. There was an experimental class of the brightest boys that they had brought in for my year, and they got us into a boys-only class while the other streams were mixed,
So
boys
you're
and
one
girls.
of the brightest boys in our world.
Right? At P7.
Yeah.
Now please listen to the story.
Okay.
So this is the cream. All right?
Dollar cream.
But I did not make it back to Bodo in my A-level, and I was not the only one from that class. You would have hoped and expected that everybody in that class
Would have made it
S1A, S2A, 3A, 4A would have made it, then everyone tails in. But the guys who are in the other streams actually came through. But let me tell you about, at least in our class, what I noticed. There's a guy. Now, both these guys are now doctors, right? But both these guys had dads who were on their case about their education. One was a dad who could not take poor performance. He says, what do you need? Books, he would buy them. Visitation, he would be there on every visitation day. And checking on the boy. How are you doing? What's going on? And all that.
Show
that
me your
the guy
friends.
is always like, man, dad is coming. Dad is coming. Because there's a monthly check. Me? I mean, you know, you go beginning of term, end of term, they don't even pick you.
Yeah.
You find a taxi, throw in your case. I mean, you don't want to lose marks. You know, you find your way to town. Leave them at a teacher's place because you don't want to be with that Chimeto case on a border. Okay? And there was another guy whose dad said to him, my son, what are the subjects you enjoy? The guy said, I love sciences. Which are the ones you hate? I don't like history. I don't like, there's another subject, an art subject. He says, look, don't bother with those subjects. You just calculate a 9 for those ones. Focus on the ones you love.
Yeah.
Career guidance from your father. So this guy never bothered with history.
Yeah.
In fact, he was lucky to get a 6.
It was a blank check.
The dad was like, my son, these ones you fail. Just focus on the ones you like.
Yeah.
And the dad was there to support him, bought him books from Kenya, textbooks and what. In fact, there's a paper where he got math. They said that year they set all the numbers from that textbook. He was the only one who had the textbook. It was a Kenyan textbook.
Yeah.
What am I saying? Whatever you say, whether you're in boarding school or out of boarding school, you cannot rule out the role of parenting. But more so now, in these days where you're trained for an education, which by the time you graduate,
It's no longer
your
relevant.
qualification,
Yeah.
that thing is no longer there.
Yes.
So what am I saying? When these young people, like I've said, who are very exposed now, make the calculation. And they say, okay, I study very hard, but I saw my cousin, he graduated, he's at home grassing.
Yes.
But then there's this other cousin who didn't graduate,
yes.
but the guy started a shop and he's doing better. This other educated cousin is begging the other uneducated cousin for money.
So are you saying
And
we
then
should
the
throw education out?
What I am saying is education is for the purpose of exposure, not for success in life. It's about stretching
There's
our
no
mind.
causality.
And
Yeah.
please let me relieve Chris of the burden.
Yes.
Let me pass it
Yes,
on.
let's pass on this thing. You know, and I want to go back to what I said at the beginning.
But
Maybe
just before you say it, are you guys then saying it's okay to fail?
No, we are
We're
not
saying, we're
it's
saying
okay to
school is
fail.
not a measure for success in life.
Yes, we are saying school
You
is not
can
a measure
fail
for
at
It's
success.
not a
and
measure for
succeed in
success in
life.
life.
So it means it's okay to fail.
How can you have such a big head which
No,
has
but that's what
nothing in
you
it?
guys are technically saying. All right.
Bill Gates,
it's
Steve
very-
Jobs.
How many are there?
How many,
They're the minority.
no, but even here in
Masanja
Kampala,
Balaba. I mean,
how many guys are we going to talk about who didn't go to school who are
He's
successful in
uneducated
Kampala?
let
and
the
he's
man-
employing professors. Basanja Balaba.
You guys, let me.
S6.
Oh, Banji. You know, Peter is emotional. He'll just wind up the show
and this is
now.
what I'm appealing to my fellow men out there. If your son fails P6, P7, senior 4, senior 6, don't crucify them.
Yes.
Sit them down. And
Did you fail?
No, I didn't fail.
Okay, good.
I didn't
I just wanted to
Peter, me, I
confirm.
failed. I did P3 twice and P4 twice. But I am here.
But Peter, if you compare my result probably with someone who is sitting now, you could say I didn't get say 4 in 4. No, I didn't get 4 in 4 at primary school. But where I started from getting a first grade at that time.
You see, you got a 12.
Then I went to O level. I got a first grade. I went to A level. I was the best in the West. Okay,
that sounds like a
and
rap.
I'm not posing. These are facts. But
the man comes from.
The point is, when your child fails, it's not the end of life.
Yeah.
Okay, you exert so much pressure. You already label your son you a failure, and it goes back to what I said at the beginning. You know this man here, Chris, wrote his book, a very nice book, and I've read I think like 3 times. How do you father for generations? How do you father an inheritance? Should an inheritance be through a school? Not necessarily. So the whole argument now should be that when we are talking to our sons, we should discuss with them the means of success. What is success? Okay.
Before we get into the final wrap up, I want one sentence before we do the wrap up. And because we're talking about success, success is not unidimensional. It is multidimensional. You can have children, you can teach them good values, but you can also show them that the world is being shaped now by craftsmen, that people who actually work with their hands. And we must take this, the idea that every parent who says, oh, my child studied accounting, but now they can't get a job, so they must do procurement, and then do SIPs, and then do SCCA, all that cram work must stop. Because
okay, we are going to get that almost sounds like your parting shot, but we'll start with you, Banji. Now, in just 2 minutes, as a quick wrap up, what is your parting shot as we talk about the declining performance of boys? But you guys say it's okay to fail.
Actually, we are saying it would be okay to fail the UNEBs of this country, as long as you don't fail in life. I think that's the argument we are developing here. So I want that message to be very clear. But one is that
are you hearing this man?
Yes. Okay. Yes. You failed the UNEBs, then you build this hotel. What's wrong with that? Are you
saying the owner of this hotel is a failure?
No.
I'm saying he did the UNEB, probably.
Yes, I'm saying then.
Yeah, viewers next to shall be broadcasting from a different hotel.
Colin, please don't twist my words. I said you could fail UNEB, but in the future build a hotel like this.
Yes.
You have not failed. So now, of course, it is true that the performance is declining, but there are very many factors which Minister of Education is aware of. For us here, we cannot go into them. The minister probably will come and explain. For us as men, we are discussing how we feel about our sons' failures. So one, as my parting shot, I would say that we need to identify the talents of our sons beyond classwork, beyond what he has called cram work, the talents. Okay. One time I went to a bar when I was still young, and there was these karaoke dancers, and the son tapped me and said, "That is my daughter." And I see her as one of these dancers in these videos, music videos. Probably she's making a living from there. So it's not about books and books and books. Okay. The second thing I would want to, as my parting shot, is that fathers, we should be more involved in the education of our children. Okay, and passing is not necessarily scoring distinction 1. It is getting knowledge that you will be able to use in your future. I think that is
great stuff. Chris, your parting shot.
Thomas Edison, the guy who created the first bulb, light bulb, I think it was called. He carried out 1,000 experiments before the bulb was ever made. And so he learned 999 times, 999 ways in which not to make a bulb. So don't tell me failure isn't good. It's good, because we learn how not to do it. I am a living example of fail, try, fail, try until you get something right and do it well. I said I did P3 twice and P4 twice.
So you're laughing,
right? No, seriously. So I went to P3, P4. There was social issues at home. I was being compared to my brother, my big brother. So I said, everything he does, I'm not going to do. Because he was going to school and being too good, I just decided to go rogue. I missed school for a whole year. I didn't have notes. I went to do Roman numerals and I didn't even know what we were talking about. So while my friends were promoted to P5, I was demoted to P3. Okay?
Yeah.
But then I came back and I was stopping my class and I got a 4, went to Budo etc. S6 I failed, I got BOO, B-O-O. Okay? And I was out of campus for 6 years. Then I went and I did mature age exams and I got a government sponsorship. Okay? I now have a master's, I have an MBA, and I'm qualified in many other things. Don't tell me failure is bad. Failure is good because you get to learn. Now, there are people like me who are experiential learners. This cram work of things on the blackboard doesn't make sense to people like me. I want to go out in the wild, adventure, experience life. That's how some of us learn, right? So this whole thing about boys are failing, it's because our system is failing to teach everybody the way they're auditory learners, they're visual learners, they're experiential learners. We're all not going to sit in a class and cram.
Okay, wow.
So, what I am saying is this, A, our education system needs to open up, but B, the last time I checked, failure is your friend if you learn from it.
All right.
So let's not beat up on our boys. I mean, if he got a 22, how do you even, what is 9 times 4?
Right.
27?
Before you encourage people to fail, you're parting shots.
So obviously, I know that we're here to talk about the boy child, but you know that we cannot talk about failing exams without talking about Spice Diana.
Okay.
So,
Yes.
knowing the reality of our economy and what that means, I wasn't good in school. I failed a lot. And this is why I am against cramwork parenting. Because my father was a teacher. And his belief was that people needed to be successful in school. Our great falling out was because I couldn't learn the things I needed to learn at a certain time. And it broke his heart so badly that, you know, we got to a point where really difficult things were said, people were disowned. Like, it was just tough, just because I couldn't know what vernier calipers could do. It's not funny.
I don't even remember
Yeah,
that.
this is so. So let me tell you, like, now I remember everything. So that great departure in my life introduced me to another father figure. And I can't say his name, but he changed my life. In a small village school in Bushenyi, he turned my life around. He taught me about hard work. He restored my validation. And he gave me the zeal that brought me from there, brought me to Namilyango. And I still, to this day, ride on that confidence, that sense of aggression, and that sense of self-esteem. It's ironic that I had to go all the way to a village country school to learn these values. So, cramwork parenting. Not everyone education is not exactly what you find in the class. It's supposed to help you, it's supposed to sort of shape you and open your mind. But really, life and success are what you then take that information and do with it in the real world. If you think about it, the people who really move your life are your mechanic and your plumbers and your carpenters and your masons. And the people who are making money, the people who are making our lives happen, are the people who know all the things around us. And we've forgotten the value of working with our hands. So I think that that's an important go back to. The first one is go back to vocational and technical education. Those are still options and you can still be successful, and the world needs those people.
Great stuff. Now, you've heard it from the men. Very emotional and very practical. Mine for tonight is just to say education is extremely important because it's the one thing that you are given that nobody can ever take away from you. However, I do agree 100% that education is not books. It's much wider than that. So it's a whole package. And for the fathers outside there, it is upon you to guide your children, especially your boy children, in the right direction. So at the end of the day, you'll not just blame them. With those few words, as my politician friends say, have a good night and God bless.
Politician
You have politician friends?
They say with those few words.